How's it going, everybody? I'm joined today by Livepool. We're going to be breaking down the coming event, Zombie Party something something. I don't actually know the name of the title, but we're also going to be talking about other stuff as well, like state of the game, and we're going to see how this event sort of leads to that conversation happening. So, how's it going, Mr. Livepool? It's been quite a bit. How was your holidays?
Oh, yeah, it's been going well. Took a bit of time off to celebrate the holidays with my family, and now just gearing up for the new year.
Nice. Yes. New Year is coming. It's going to be a fun time. Always excited for New Year. New Year, new me. And then a week later, I'm just like, oh, I ate 5, 10, 15 brownies today. Oops. Okay, so here we go. And a zombie at the party. So here we're going to be having an event. We're battling in war on offense. I know in game it doesn't specify offense, but I'm pretty sure it's offense because that's what the blog says. With absolute A-Force characters. Earn New Year 2025 orb fragments, ISO 8 campaign nodes from ISO 8 campaign nodes, and spend What If Winterland energy. There's going to be a leaderboard for diamonds from Medusa. The big rewards are Scarlet Witch Red Stars, which we talked about in a different video. Kind of just not true. Factually, yes. Realistically, come on. The Ice Queen's Gala rewards, Partridge and Snow Globes, and the event starts today at 1 p.m. So a couple hours from when this video was hopefully posted. Let's just check out the chart real quick so we can see what we're gunning for here. What do you think is the big rewards for this event?
The leaderboard, really. The milestones are pretty standard. We see them every week, and the leaderboards. It's a pretty standard leaderboard as well. But with what we're going to touch on soon with the spotlight raids, that purple ice, those purple ions are going to come in real handy coming up.
Yeah, so it looks like even if you're just top 10,000, you're going to be getting nearly enough to bring a character up to purple 3. Just missing about 60,000 of those ions, and if you can score higher than that, you can actually get up to, nearly 2 characters, and then a couple of those orbs open up as well. So let's go ahead. Let's play around with your sheet here. And the sheet will be available, guys. When would you say it's normally available? Because I know you like to wait for the offers to come out, so it's like as super reliable as possible. When do you think these sheets normally become available in the Discord?
Half an hour. It depends more on Scopely putting out the all the information. The offers is one factor. The other factor that I still don't know. So these are take these numbers with a pinch of salt. Yeah. Is the drop rate on the ISO 8 energy as well? That's always something that we're in the dark on for some reason. I don't know why.
Yeah.
But I've guessed it at 3. Could be 4. It's usually between 3 and 4.
Yeah. No, normally between 3 and 4. I think 3 is the more common of the answer, which I think is what you went with here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So why don't you walk us through what we can expect at varying levels of engagement with this event?
Yeah. So let's start off with our fairly standard numbers. So let's say we're doing 4 refreshes on each energy and maxing out the web milestone. Not everyone's going to have 5-star in the absolute A-Force, so let's leave that off for now. But you should at least be able to use them in war, so you should get the points for that at least, and that gets you to the monthly item. It does make me wonder if it might be a 4 times drop rate, because usually they like to get you to just 1 after the monthly item, but let's assume not for now. But you're right about there, and to be honest, the next milestone's not a huge deal anyway. 1 million gold and a few red gear orbs.
Yeah, let's talk about that monthly item for a second, because I don't know about you, but in game, this is the monthly event, right? The Ice Queen's Gala is where we're getting points for the parch and all that. There is a leaderboard for this event, but by now, if you've been hitting the minimums on most of the events, like, you should just be done with the monthly event, right? So that raises the question, like, could you just simply skip this event? Well, why don't you continue your thoughts, because I know we're going to answer that in a little bit here.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think so. I think it's all about the leaderboard, really, on this event, because the milestone rewards don't get particularly crazy until we start getting out of the reach of most free-to-play players anyway. Like, I would say milestone 18 is probably the first milestone where, that's really something if you can get there. And I don't think any free-to-play players is going to be getting there.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll give you an example. I have currently 45,000 ISO 8 energy saved up. If I used every single last bit of that, I would get to milestone 18. I wouldn't even max out the milestones.
And that's 45,000. Well, 45. Who knows? Maybe they'll put a 1 to 10 conversion on ISO 8 energy.
Well, you never know, but yeah. I do also have a 5-star Kahori as well, so I'll get a few extra points from that as well.
10,000 from that, yeah. Right on.
But it's all going to be in the milestones though. So why don't we talk about the spotlight raids that are coming up?
Yeah, that's a great. So what we've been talking about or leaning into in this conversation is that the purple ISO crystals and ions you can get from the leaderboard in this event do kind of seem to be the bigger rewards lately because of things like the Spotlight Raid 2 coming out soon. And that's going to be requiring... Bum, ba, da, bum. Why don't you tell us what it requires, Mr. Livepool?
Purple ISO level 3.
On a bunch of characters that we don't have done yet, right? Like, I don't know how many people have put Purple ISO 3 on their Alpha Flight team. I imagine not a ton of people. And then we have the Uncanny Avengers. Yeah, exactly, right?
Alpha Flight have been pretty irrelevant for a while now. I would hope no one's got them at level 3, unless they saw this blogger a week ago, I guess.
Yeah. If they saw this week, or maybe if they are super hardcore into Crucible, and they did it last season when the raid room was there, maybe. But even then, so you do have to put Purple ISO 3 on all these characters to get to the highest difficulty. Now, what the problem I have with these sort of raids, and this is where I think we can start touching on maybe a little bit of the state of the game, is that just like the last Spotlight raid, I am super concerned this is going to be just a requirement check, right? Like, you have your characters done, you put Purple ISO 3 on them, and then it's going to be the same as Spotlight right now is, which is just sim. Now, the flip side of that is we don't want to have 4 hours of content we have to do every single day. But it's just the PvE side of the game has been weighed on me pretty heavily. How are you feeling about, this new raid coming up, which it seems like we actually have the answers for? We just need Hercules and Jean Grey to be released early, right? And the other PvE events.
I do remember when the last Spotlight raid came out, right? It required the back half of it required Alpha Flight, and not everyone's buying Alpha Flight straight away. It took them a little while to unlock them, and if you didn't have Alpha Flight for that back half, it was pretty challenging. I remember that. So maybe, hopefully, this is, I say hopefully with sort of inverted commas here, that it's kind of similar, where it's challenging but not undoable is really where the sweet spot is. And have they been hitting that sweet spot with the most recent events? Or the most recent PvE content? I don't know. I think they're doing their best. They did make the Frozen Dimension a bit more challenging, which is what we were all asking for, but not in the most interesting way. The tower mode is a bit of fun, like most tower modes are, but they didn't add any extra floors or anything like that. It's, by the time you reach the top floor, it's just using the same 2 or 3 teams every day. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I'm gonna do something I promised myself I wasn't gonna do. I'm actually gonna use some heals on the frozen dimension to kind of showcase what you're talking about there. So you had a very interesting take on this, right? Like, Frozen Dimension has been kind of universally hated. When I first did the playtest, I didn't do all the nodes, and so I didn't actually dislike it as much as I do now, having to do the later nodes, because of the preloaded turn burn. So I actually found that the nodes themselves, the composition of the nodes and the teams we had to use to face them, I didn't think it was super horrible. But once Kahori takes her turns here, and she is obviously the all-star of the mode, it becomes quickly evident of what I think the big issue here was, right? And that's the developers. I don't know if it's they're not clever enough or they didn't want to take the time to do it, but in order to increase the difficulty, which you're right, it's not, we're not autoing through this in 20 minutes. All they did was take oh my god, and she died. They just took a knob to the turn meter that enemies are spawning with, and they said, go gadget, 100% speed bar for everybody that comes in.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I agree with everything you said. I'll say this, though. I would prefer this to autoing in 30 minutes. I felt something playing this game, which I haven't felt playing this game mode, which I haven't felt playing this game in a while, which was I was struggling to get through the nodes with the characters that I had, and so I made the decision to, like, I was waiting until I could get to the next milestone of the event that was happening at the time, which gave me enough purple ions to then upgrade an extra absolute A-Force character so that I could try and beat this node that I was stuck on.
Right.
You know, like that kind of I'm really waiting for this resource so that I can make this change, and then this is going to be so much easier. That's what I've been missing from this game, and it did give me that, which I am pleased about. I think they could have done it in a better way that wasn't so frustrating, but I have mild optimism that they are at least looking in the right direction towards trying to make things a little bit more challenging.
Yeah.
I just hope they get a bit more creative with it.
Yeah, so I loved the Temporal Cataclysm because of what you said. I thought it was challenging. Not the node I'm just simming through right now because it's the first node. But the node with, say, the Illuminati on it, the node with the Annihilators that come in after the Cabal characters, the node with the 2 Black Knights. Like, I found myself doing some interesting things. Now, I think there's a way to merge these 2 game modes into something that actually would have been really successful. So I think the big problem with the Frozen Dimension is that the enemy character stats are so low that you're just kind of eating a bunch of attacks, and they have to be low because they're giving them that speed bar. Whereas in Temporal Cataclysm, the enemies hit freaking hard, man. At the highest level, they hit freaking hard. When I first saw the Frozen Dimension, I was actually pretty hopeful because it looked like, okay, the characters that we're being forced to use here, they're going to be able to beat these nodes. It's going to be a struggle fest. I figured it would take about 3 days with no healing to get it done. That wasn't the case because of the speed bar. And then Temporal Cataclysm came out, and there's hidden rewards on the nodes, which is kind of a big miss, in my opinion. Like, if they had displayed that, I think people would have enjoyed the Cataclysm more. But there was no rewards behind the Frozen Dimension. We can talk about those rewards too, if you'd like. I think they're kind of, if you just decide not to do it, it's not the end of the world. The mixture of these two, I think, is where they need to find the happy medium. What would you think about that? Of having, yes, difficult content where we're not just going to straight auto it. I understand that we have to be kind of held back by tags, because if not, everything would just be Odin, Mephisto, maybe Kahori, Old Man Logan at this point, right? What do you think about kind of mixing these 2 modes, the good of these 2 modes? How do you think the community would accept that, if you will?
I mean, I feel like if you mix those 2 modes, you get Dark Dimension, right? Almost. It's finding the balance is the tricky thing. I mean, I actually quite enjoy Dark Dimension as well. On occasion, it's fine. What I mean, and I'm sitting here in my chair and saying this as if I could design any better. I don't know if I could, but the challenge is finding something that's challenging. It does take you a couple of days, but is still doable and not just endlessly resetting for the right RNG.
Right.
And I think that is a very delicate balance to find. And when you find that balance for one player, another player with a different roster might go too far in one of those in each direction. So I get that it's tricky, and not everyone's gonna enjoy every game mode, and not everyone's gonna have the right roster for every game mode. Making content that's fun for both endgame players and new players is always going to be tricky. I was disillusioned with this game for a while, especially with the whole Battleworld situation, and just nothing seemed to happen there. The events just all seem so stagnated now. With these new ones, I have started, I have actually stopped spending on the game. I think you have as well. I know a lot of my alliance mates have as well.
Yeah.
But with these events, I at least felt like I had something to look forward to. Like, I felt like I was looking forward to the daily reset so that I could try the Frozen Dimension attack, to try and do another Frozen Dimension attack.
Fair enough, yeah. I think there's a lot of things, they're right on the precipice of having fun content again in PvE. Like, the Hunger and the Thirst events were great. The Frozen Dimension and Temporal Cataclysm, I think they were both just like one deviation off of being really interesting. The tower mode that we currently have was really fun because Well, because they didn't add any floors, which is not something I would celebrate normally, but because it was the holiday season, it was kind of fun just to use our new characters on the floors that maybe gave us trouble last time. So more people completed. There's like 4 or 5 teams that beat that final floor now, which is really cool. But like you said, Battleworld was a huge blemish, right? And that sort of that cataclysmic failure, I am going to say that, really resonated with a lot of people. Like you said, you stopped spending, I've stopped spending. I know a lot of people have. Even Legion. By the way, Legion is not disbanding. Legion Black is just stepping away from competitive play. And there'll be retirement alliance until there are changes done by Scopely. Now, I do think that changes can be done. I'm just not sure at the speed at which it's going to happen is going to jive with a lot of these players who are just kind of holding on, because they are still probably a month away from any sort of like even possible big change that's going to happen. Now, we did get an early 2025 preview. Did you happen to read this over?
I gave it a quick glance. You can feel free to take me through it, though.
Yeah, I also only gave it a quick glance too. It's during the holiday season. I think it came out, December 20th. I'm in holiday mode at that point with the big family, but there's lots here that I think people just kind of accepted in a mess sort of way. And I'd like to maybe dissect as to why that is. So the return to Battleworld. As we mentioned in our recent blog post, Battleworld is on a short hiatus while we were... Yes. What does the future of Battleworld look like? Below is what our team. So it's going to be a monthly event instead. Battleworld will become a monthly event consisting of a 3-day siege. So they're also going to get rid of one of the zones. There'll be 4 zones total, 3 standard and 1 boss. And each zone has 3 to 5 total missions and will include 1 elite mission. So it sounds like the mission nodes themselves are going to be the exact same. Null shards. Yeah.
If they don't have to redo the nodes, they're not gonna. Absolutely no chance for that.
Yeah, exactly. Null shards, the King in Black, will still be the big boss you battle in the battle world, and you'll still earn a consistent amount of null shards during each monthly siege. We'll have more info on the exact number of shards and other reward details next year, so stay tuned. This to me was still concerning, because although null was interesting for the first couple weeks, we found the bleed comp. And then obviously when they reworked Astral to be crazy, and there was the Astral bug, like they performed really well. But Null to me still seems like he's just blanketed with so much anti-speed and ramp up that it limits the creativity you can pose into Null. Are you surprised to see that they are actually not going to be moving any pieces around in the Null fight itself?
I'm not surprised. They don't like going back to recode things. If they can copy and paste wherever possible, they will do. That doesn't surprise me at all.
Yeah. So what I'm seeing from this Battleworld stuff, and I had a lot of hope for Battleworld, and I still do. I still think Battleworld version 2, like whatever's after Null, could hit it out of the park if they incorporate things like the hunger and the thirst rules like that. If they do some interesting tags instead of just like, okay, use extreme has raid rules, go. Like if it's just blanket stuff like that, it's just too boring, it's just too bland, it's not gonna be fun. From what I see here in this preview, it doesn't look like the gameplay itself of Battleworld is shifting at all. At least they're not saying it's gonna shift at all. So I still kind of think it's gonna be a monthly snooze fest. Do you think I'm off base with that take?
No, I think you got it. So am I understanding right? This is 4 days a month that we're going to be playing Battleworld.
Yeah.
Is that what it seems to be saying? Okay.
Yeah.
At least it's not so much of a time drag. I mean, that was one of the biggest downsides. I mean, how do they have these scourges with all these interesting interactions that you can switch on, and then something like the Spec Ops in Battleworld where you have to complete missions? How do you not link those two things? Like complete missions in Spec Ops to unlock scourges for the next zone or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. Like, yeah, that's a great point. Like instead of having just a Spec Ops tab that you can click on, have a Scourge pack tab that you can click on, and for that zone it activates these packs. You get extra points, differentiates leaderboards, stuff like that. That would be really cool. I think that's a great idea. Let's move on to other stuff. So we talked a lot about PvE. There's some PvP stuff I think going on too right now. Cosmic Crucible Judgment upgrade. So our team has been hard at work creating new tech for us to reshape the battle for the Living Tribunal's judgment and juice rewards. Here's what you can expect in 2025. So this is for Cosmic Crucible. New ways to play. Along with a steady supply of new global and stage rules to test your savvy and roster, you'll see Crucible seasons with fluctuating bracket sizes and the number of stages to defeat during each given week. So this is what a lot of people have been asking for at the lower ends. Like, when you first unlock Crucible and you have 6 rooms to fill up, but you only have one team built up because you're level 65, you've been playing for a week, it sounds like they're going to be kind of squishing the amount of rooms people in Bronze have to face and extending the amount of rooms people in Grandmaster have to face. I think this is going to be a great change and kind of unlock more of our roster. What do you think about that?
Ooh, I hadn't seen that they were doing that. So is that at our end, it's going to be more Crucible fights per day, you think?
I think so. They don't tell which way it will go. I assume lower brackets will have maybe 4 or 3 rooms, and I think they can put up to 8 or 9 rooms for people like myself or you, right? Because we have these fully developed rosters. Say we're in Masters or Grandmaster, or the case may be. I think it adds rooms to kind of increase that flavor.
I mean, I felt like it just becomes another war though, because that's that.
It can, but the room rules are what differentiate War and Crucible, right?
Yeah, but I also like the fact that it's. I'm not sure I'm a huge fan of that, to be honest. I like the fact that it's quite a limited number of rooms, so that you can really squish teams together and make these sort of meta hybrid comps, rather than having to sort of stretch it out and have everyone on their team. I actually quite like that aspect of Crucible.
Yeah, that's an interesting take because the current Crucible meta at the very tippy top right now is actually like 3 super condensed turtle teams and then 3 absolutely dumpster fire defense teams that people just walk over, right? So if they increase the amount of rooms, it could still be just 3 super tough turtle defense teams, and then maybe it'll, instead of being 3 garbage teams, it'll be 5 garbage teams instead, right? So it could work out that way because at the end of the day, it's still just efficiency. You know, if I can get you to take 1 loss and I don't take 1 loss, that's the most important thing. So I'll be curious to see how that plays out. Again, I don't know if they're adding rooms or if this is just for the lower brackets. If this is just for people in Bronze, face 4 rooms instead of 6. It could be that.
Right. But I think that issue is more related to their laziness in the kits of the new characters and making them such a nightmare on defense, like with Kahori and with all of these just weird things that they've been putting in kits recently, just make them such a nightmare on defense.
Yeah. The new character stats on defense were not properly sold to players.
Oh, I meant that.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on. So we're gonna have tournaments as well. So we had that like U32 tournament, whatever it was called back in the day. So it looks like with expanded brackets are roaring back in 2025. Get ready to duke it out with your fellow commanders with big resources on the line. Our community team will also continue more of the fun 5C tournaments. I guess the envoy tournaments there. Oh yeah, with the top content creators face off in custom Crucible tournaments while the rest of us eat snacks, steal their strategies, and celebrate their victory. So I think we're having more tournaments.
Where did the envoy tournaments go? I missed those. That was my chance to sort of scout the room rules and figure out my defenses before I went live. I missed those.
I think the last one, I think people were just too busy. They just couldn't set it up in time. I think they were trying to fix Battleworld, so that was their top priority. And the envoys at one point were just like, hey, like it's Christmas time, get out of here. This I thought was really, really cool. But this again is not for people at the end game who are, you know, finding a lot of stagnation in the game. This is for sort of mixed alliances or new players coming up. So raid difficulty selector, choose your own adventure. So for a tougher raid challenge before the rest of your alliance, your roster isn't quite powerful enough or your alliance preferred difficulty, good news. The raid difficulty update we're cooking up is just what you're looking for. This upcoming upgrade to the raid difficulty selector will allow each member of your alliance to select a preferred difficulty and associated rewards. So if I am only ready for Spotlight Raid 2, which we were just talking about, difficulty 1, but the other 23 people in my alliance are ready, they have the purple ISO, we can still queue for that raid, and I'm just going to be doing easier nodes, getting less rewards, and likely contributing less leaderboard rewards as well, I would assume. But at least it's not like I can't play with these people. What do you think about that?
I love it in theory. I want to see how that would work in terms of the rewards that the Alliance gets based on what players are doing each difficulty. Like the maths of how that works would have to make sense. But if they do that correctly, I really like that idea. Actually, I hadn't considered it before, but I really like it.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. All right, Age of Professor X. So Professor X is going to be coming in March 2024. They said it was going to be a year. So yeah, March of 2025, I believe, is when Professor X is going to come. So we should definitely be expecting the level cap to happen like next week, maybe. And then for Gear Tier 20, which I have a lot of thoughts of Gear Tier 20, I'll do a different video since this one's running a little bit long already. But he's going to be coming. Odin, what are your thoughts about? So Odin, to me, didn't really break the game, but putting him with a team like Illuminati in Crucible did sort of, brain break a lot of people. A lot of like decision paralysis when you have to face those sort of teams. What do you think Professor X is going to be like when he comes to the game? Because like Odin, he's going to have those new stats.
Yeah, I think they actually did it right with Odin. The problem with Mephisto and Super Skrull before that, they were the haves and haves nots in Arena and in Crucible and any other game mode. If you didn't have him, you just can't compete. And with Odin, he was a huge game changer, but you could find ways to work around him, and I think that's a good thing because that gives people that don't have him a chance to still compete.
Yeah.
And I hope they do that again with Professor X. Now I'm a little bit worried that he's probably going to have a lot of interaction with the X-Men team and just make the X-Men team ridiculous, or maybe he won't. I don't know, because he's unlike other Dark Dimension characters we've had. Professor X is much, at least his lore is much more
tied together with X-Men.
Tied together with a lot of other characters that we have in the game, right? So
yeah, I don't think they're going to. I'd be surprised if he even has the X-Men tag. I know a lot of people get mad about that. I'd be surprised to give him the X-Men tag because then all of a sudden that means, he starts getting life when he's paired with Rogue. He gets speed bar when he's paired with Nightcrawler, who he might anyway if he's the highest damage. I think that if they make Professor X as good as he should be, he probably shouldn't have the X-Men tag because then it's like you say, he's going to just kind of default into that sort of a team and that might become a little bit overwhelming.
Yeah.
What do you feel about this release, though? So this is different. So Strike Physics are reporting that the final push to recruit Professor X to your roster will involve a release method with 60 mission nodes with increasing difficulty. So this is like a Dark Dimension, but with 60 nodes and with various trait requirements. So it's kind of like this is a crazy random thing. 60 is a giant number. When our current Odin Dark Dimension, what was it, like 15, something like that?
Yeah, it would have been. Yeah, so it's 5 categories, right?
Kind of bonkers.
That is pretty bonkers. Yeah, I mean, I can't give my judgments on whether the game mode's going to be good or not just based on that information because it depends on a lot of other factors. But yeah, I'm full of controversial opinions today. Apparently, I quite like Dark Dimension. I'm always having the most fun in the game when I am desperately waiting for the daily reset so that I can go in and do another Dark Dimension attack. That's what I find exciting about the game. So
I think that's fair. The reason I personally don't like Dark Dimension is just because of how fleeting a mode it is. I find like so it's not that I don't like Dark Dimension, it's that I don't like building for Dark Dimension. I should say that. I don't want to build Vol for Dark Dimension just because she's great in Dark Dimension because I can't use her outside the mode. I think that's where my gripe with Dark Dimension comes in.
Yeah, I mean, that's something else that I do find quite fun is sort of strategizing your resources to try and optimize your roster to complete this new mode. Like I really enjoy that side of things as well. So Dark Dimension is very suited to what I like about the game. Monster Filey has made a good point here though. The 60 node Dark Dimension is very similar to the Horseman and Apocalypse saga. That we had Wipeout, so it might be quite similar to that, I guess.
Well, let me run a worst case scenario.
Yeah.
Let me run a worst case scenario. What if it's 60 nodes, 5 missions per trait? Every character in those traits needs to be Gear Tier 20. Biggest Dark Dimension push ever. That's just a joke, guys. I don't think that'll be a thing. This I thought was really cool when I first read it. Global milestones. Strike commanders have risen to the occasion every time Nick Fury has called on them, no matter the mission. Next year, Nick Fury is calling on every single commander for special global missions. During these big milestones, every commander, regardless of alliance, will work together to score points and earn rewards. So it's like an entire community milestone. I think that's really, really cool. I'm interested to see what sort of inputs they put behind something like that. What do you think? Is it going to be like war tags? Going to be Crucible? Is it just going to be like daily activity? Hopefully it's not going to be spend gold. Hopefully it's not going to be like alliance milestones where you're just kind of like looking at your Krakens in your alliance and that leader being like, are you going to do it? Or like, I'm very curious how Scopely is going to pull this one off. If it's going to be like in like predatory Scopely fashion, or if it's going to be some new exciting thing. How do you feel about this?
I mean, to me, that sounds like free rewards for most people because it's going to be the Krakens that are doing most of the heavy lifting, right?
If it's pay based, it could be it could be player based, right? Like doing certain activities.
Yeah, I mean, I guess so. Yeah, I mean, most milestones, you can get a certain way through them free to play, and then you gotta do a bit of spending to get further. So yeah, I don't know.
You know,
We'll
it'd
have to
be
see on
really
that, but
cool.
it's a cool. Yeah.
It'd be really cool if it was Battleworld, right? If it's like the amount of nulls that are beaten by the entire community. So then everyone comes together, shares all their great null killing strategies, and the community at large pushes as much as they can. I think that'd be pretty cool.
I really like that. That's a cracking idea.
Yeah. All right. This video went 30 minutes. We went all over the place here and there. How are you feeling just about Marvel Strike Force in general heading into the new year? And knowing that there is a lot of negative, like Onslaught, Legion Black going non-competitive for a lot of players. I know a couple of them are going to other places. My current alliance, which was very Krakeny, split up about a month ago, and since then just hasn't been able to find its footing. And I've personally, like you were talking about earlier, you stopped spending, I stopped spending. I've thrown in the towel. I'm leaving the competitive alliance I'm currently in, and I'm going to my baby alliance, and then, well, I'll be doing something there that'll be a lot different. The community at large right now seems to not be in the happiest position. How do you feel about the game and about the community's take right now?
What? Hey, you got another 30 minutes in this video? I get it. I really do get it. I was in the same boat myself. I have stopped spending in the game. A very close friend of mine, shout out to Percy Flage in my alliance, who I've been playing with him for 4 years now, has decided to quit the game. He was even still paying when I quit and came back to the game. So I do get it. I think some people might be angry at the wrong things in some cases. If I'm gonna continue with my controversial line of
go for it. Yeah.
I you know, so many people have been begging for challenging content, and then we get some, and then suddenly, oh, this is way too tough. It could have been better. I get it, but I think if you're going to criticize, then you've got to give credit where it's due as well. At least they're trying. I'm personally a little bit more optimistic than I was a month ago. I'm still not going to be spending on the game anytime soon, but I'm maybe it's the Christmas spirit. I don't know. I'm in a slightly happy place.
Well, Scopely gave me calls, so I'm not as optimistic. I hear what you're saying about like, hey, it's not an auto fest. I don't think there's any strategy there. So I think when people were asking for harder content, what we were asking for is let me use my brain, not use my wallet. I don't think Frozen Dimension does that. I actually think Temporal Dimension gets closer to that mark, but a lot of people disagree with me. So I'm just on a different controversial branch than you're on there.
I mean, I didn't spend a single penny on Absolute A-Force, and I did manage to one-shot the final node of Frozen Dimension on my second run. I learned from my first run that you have to down Odin like straight away. You can't leave Odin up and come back with another attack.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you're screwed.
You one-shot it. That's interesting. I two-shot it. I killed the Sasquatches, then I died and came back in and killed the Odin.
I did manage to one-shot it. I had to. That was when I was saying I brought up Ironheart as the fourth Absolute A-Force to use with Thanos. Okay. And that's what allowed me to one-shot it.
Nice.
But I've unlocked all of the Absolute A-Force free to play, and I put two purple ISO on them free to play, and I managed to one-shot the final node, having learnt from the first run. So all in all, that's about as what I want from a PvE mode. It definitely could have been better, but I give it props for trying.
Yeah, so like, I mean, them not having an auto content, that's good. Giving the turn bar, I think, is just it's boring and lazy. I think we already touched on that. I agree with you though, and I do hope that Scopely can learn from this. I think that this next month is going to be very defining for them. If we see the first Battleworld come back and it's just the exact same thing as what it was, I really hope they follow it with some, or precede it with some other, you know, sword satellite, kill tower, where we do get to kind of flex the strategy aspect of things. I think that we need to start seeing that. Like you said, they're venturing in that direction, which is good, and hopefully they continue to do it. But the community right now is not happy about it, and a lot of the big spenders aren't either. And hopefully that's going to push them to make changes faster, right?
I get it. Yeah, and I hope so too. Yeah, I think money talks. When spenders stop spending, that's when they really start listening. So let's hope they listen.
Yeah, agreed. And they need to find what people want to spend money on. I think people are done just spending money on the newest team, and I mean, Diamonds people don't even spend money on it anymore. Purple Lights people don't spend money. I don't know what people are spending money on at this point, except for character shards. So they got to find something that's going to be fun and interesting that people want to spend their money on. Anyway, this video went way too long. We're going to head out. Guys, hopefully you have good luck with this. A zombie at the party. Don't sweat that 7 red star zombie Scarlet Witch, which I'm hiding. This is pretty unachievable unless you're going to be buying the offers that are going to be associated with this event. But don't skip this event. Get those purple ions so that you are ready for Spotlight difficulty 2 when it comes. Although it sounds like if you're not ready but your alliance is, you could probably just do normal difficulty on your own track while they do difficulty 2. We'll see how that plays out. Also, I suppose somebody in chat said this. Don't auto launch your Spotlight on Friday, because that's when the Spotlight 2 strike is going to come out. Start hoarding your cores if you're not going to buy Jean Grey, so that you can unlock Jean Grey via cores, so that you can actually go in and get the raids done. There's your hot tip. 36 minutes in. Did you see it? Probably not. Have a good one, everybody. Bye-bye.
See you later.
That's it for the video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Stay happy, healthy, have fun, and I'll see you in the next one.